Nobody and nothing will affect you again. This isn't just a powerful statement. It's a reality you can create. Imagine a life where you're no longer at the mercy of other people's opinions, the stress of your job, or the daily distractions that often derail your progress. What would it feel like to go through your day with unshakable focus and complete emotional control? The truth is, you can achieve this. The world will always throw challenges at you, but you have the power to control how you respond. By mastering a few key habits, you can eliminate the emotional weight of external pressures and live life on your terms. In this video, I'll share simple, actionable steps to help you become someone who is unfazed by anything, whether it's criticism, stress, or setbacks. You'll learn how to reclaim your inner peace, no matter the storm around you. Get ready to transform your mindset and take control of your life. The moment you apply these strategies, you'll start seeing a shift, and soon you'll realize nothing and nobody will ever affect you again. Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning. Chapter 1. Cut the emotional cord from the world. Most people live their lives constantly reacting to things outside of themselves. Their mood rises and falls with someone else's tone of voice. Their energy crashes based on what they see online. One bad comment, one disappointing text, or one unexpected shift in someone else's behavior can throw their entire day off balance. And what's worse, many of them don't even realize it's happening. They think that this constant emotional swing is normal. It's not. It's the result of being emotionally tied to the world in all the wrong ways. To truly gain control over your life, you need to understand this simple truth. As long as your emotions are wired into what's happening outside of you, you will never be free. You will never feel consistent. You will never have real peace, because what you feel will always depend on what others do, say, or think. And that's no way to live. You need to take those emotional wires, the ones connected to the noise, the opinions, the drama, the expectations, and start pulling them out one by one. Not because you don't care, not because you want to isolate yourself, but because you need to reclaim your power. Because if your emotions are controlled by anything other than your own values, principles, and goals, you'll always be controlled by something unstable. Let's be clear, the world is not going to change just because you're trying to grow. People will continue to say things that bother you. Unexpected problems will still show up. You'll face negativity, judgment, and distraction. That's the nature of the external world. It's inconsistent, chaotic, and out of your control. So your only real option is to stop being so emotionally tied to it. You stop letting it shape how you think and feel. You stop letting it lead your focus. And most importantly, you stop handing over your emotional state like it's something anyone can borrow. The first step is to get honest with yourself about where your emotional energy goes. Not where you say it goes, where it actually goes. How much of your day is spent thinking about what others said? How often do you feel low because of something you saw that had nothing to do with your real life? How many times do you allow your mind to wander into imagined problems, judgments, or comparisons? Every one of those moments is a sign that the emotional cord is still attached. There is no switch you can flip to instantly cut that cord, but you can begin to build awareness of it. You start by observing when it happens. Maybe someone ignores your message and your mind starts spinning. Maybe a coworker says something in a sharp tone and you feel offended. Maybe you scroll through social media and suddenly feel less confident. Catch those moments. Don't judge them, just notice them. They are reminders that something still has access to your emotions that shouldn't. Once you notice those moments, the next step is separation. You don't engage with them emotionally. You don't let them pull you in. You say to yourself, that's theirs, not mine. You create a mental boundary, not to shut down but to take back what belongs to you, your inner calm. That boundary isn't about avoidance, it's about choice. You begin to choose what's worth your emotional energy and what isn't. You choose what deserves space in your head and what doesn't. That one act of choice can change your entire inner world. Think about how much energy you lose daily by giving yourself away to things that have nothing to do with your mission. It's like trying to climb a mountain while being dragged in 10 different directions. No wonder you feel tired even when you haven't done much. Your energy isn't being spent on your goals. It's being spent on managing emotions that were never yours to carry. And when that happens, you don't grow. You don't move. You just survive. That's not the point of life. Cutting the emotional cord doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means redirecting your emotions toward what actually matters. You stop wasting them on petty reactions and use them instead to fuel your goals, your growth, and your inner discipline. You start to feel powerful, not because the world is quieter, but because you've stopped letting the noise control you. The shift begins when you start living from the inside out, not the outside in. You stop asking, "What's happening around me?" and start asking, "What's happening in me?" That change in perspective gives you space to breathe. You begin to see how many of your problems are not rooted in reality, they're rooted in attachment. You're not stressed because of what someone said. You're stressed because you needed them to say something different. That's attachment. You're not anxious because life is uncertain. You're anxious because you expected it to be a certain way. That's attachment. The solution is detachment, not from life, but from the illusion that everything must go your way. The more you let go of needing things to be a certain way, the more peaceful you become. And in that peace something else grows. Power. Real quiet power. The kind that doesn't flinch when someone else is in a bad mood. The kind that stays grounded even when plans change. The kind that knows how to keep going, no matter how loud the world gets. You will start to see life differently. You won't take things so personally. You won't react as quickly. You'll stop chasing explanations. You won't try to control people. You'll stop needing closure for everything. You'll stop arguing to be understood. Because you'll realize your inner state is no longer on the table. It's not up for discussion. It's not something others can access without your permission. That's the kind of strength most people never develop, because they never learn how to step back. They never learn how to pause before reacting. They never create that space between stimulus and response. But you will. Because you're not reading this just to feel good. You're here to change. You're here to reclaim something you may have lost: your emotional independence. You're not going to find peace by fixing the world. You'll find it by fixing your relationship with the world. And the way you fix that relationship is by remembering one powerful truth: nothing outside of you can control what happens inside you unless you allow it. The next time someone disappoints you, stop. Don't respond. Don't overthink. Just notice. The next time you get triggered by something you see or hear, breathe. Don't feed it. Let it pass. You'll be amazed at how quickly your power returns when you stop handing it out so freely. There is no need to explain your peace to anyone. You don't need to justify your calm. You don't owe the world a reaction. You don't have to get involved. You don't have to chase people, fix their moods, prove your worth, or win every debate. You can just let go. And when you do, you'll realize you've always had what you were searching for: clarity, strength, peace. It was just buried beneath too many emotional cords tied to things that were never yours to begin with. This is your turning point. Not a moment of motivation, a moment of transformation. You've seen what happens when you give your emotions to the world. Now you get to see what happens when you keep them for yourself. The difference is night and day. The power is unmatched. And the peace is real. Let the world be what it is. Let people think what they want. Let chaos exist where it will. But as for you, you remain grounded. You remain unshaken. You remain in control. That's the real goal. That's what it means to cut the emotional cord from the world. Not to escape life, but to finally live it on your terms. Chapter 2. Become the observer, not the reactor. Most people go through life without ever learning how to pause. They react instantly to whatever life throws at them. A rude comment, an unexpected situation, a delay, a disagreement. These moments trigger them and they respond without thought, often in ways they later regret. Living this way is exhausting. It keeps people in a constant state of emotional turbulence, bouncing from one external influence to another, never truly grounded, never truly at peace. This kind of living robs people of their inner strength and mental clarity. But there's another way to move through life, one that's calmer, wiser, and infinitely more powerful. It's the way of the observer. Instead of reacting immediately, you learn to step back. You learn to witness your thoughts without letting them control you. You create space between what happens and how you respond. That space becomes your power. In that space, you're no longer a puppet to your emotions. You're in control. When you become the observer, you stop being dragged by every feeling that shows up. You stop being ruled by your first instinct. You begin to see things for what they are, not for what your emotional state turns them into. And when you develop that skill of watching instead of reacting, you gain something very few people ever achieve: emotional freedom. Being the observer doesn't mean being detached from life. It means being deeply aware of life, but not enslaved by it. It means you feel things, but you don't let them dictate your choices. You hear criticism, but you don't crumble. You face stress, but you don't panic. You listen, you process, you think, and then you act. From a place of strength, not weakness. From clarity, not confusion. This isn't something that happens overnight. It takes practice to become an observer. It starts with small moments. Moments where you would normally speak too soon, argue back, or let your anger decide your next move. In those moments, you pause. You take a breath. You ask yourself, what's really happening here? And you wait. You let the initial surge of emotion pass before doing anything. You don't suppress your emotions. You just give yourself time to see them clearly before they turn into behavior. That pause is where your power begins. Because when you don't react, you start to understand. You see your own patterns. You notice how often your reactions are rooted in insecurity, ego, fear, or the need to prove something. You see how many times your anger comes from misunderstanding. You realize how often your anxiety is caused not by the situation, but by your resistance to it. The more you observe, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the less you need to react. When you react, you're a slave to the world. When you observe, you become the master of your mind. Life will always bring pressure, conflict, and unpredictability. That won't change. But your relationship to those things can change. You don't need to resist the world. You need to stop letting it hijack your inner state. You don't need to avoid hard conversations. You need to stop letting every word trigger a defense mechanism. Think about how much regret in your life has come from reacting too quickly. The things you said that didn't need to be said. The decisions you made in frustration. The energy you wasted on things that didn't deserve your attention. All of that can be traced back to one thing: impulse. And impulse is the enemy of growth. It pulls you away from the person you're trying to become. It pushes you into old habits that no longer serve you. But when you practice being the observer, you interrupt that cycle. You slow things down. You stop time for just long enough to make a conscious choice instead of a reactive one. You shift from being someone who is always in motion to someone who moves with intention. That's a powerful change. People will try to provoke you. They'll say things that test your patience. They'll behave in ways that challenge your peace. But your job isn't to fix them. Your job is to stay centered, to protect your energy, to respond with maturity and purpose. That's what separates someone who is ruled by their environment from someone who rules their world from within. You begin to develop a deep sense of calm, not because life is easy, but because you've learned how to stay calm in the middle of difficulty. That calmness becomes your strength. It shows up in the way you listen instead of interrupt, in the way you ask questions instead of make accusations, in the way you stay silent when you know your words won't improve the situation. You're no longer trying to win every battle. You're trying to win the war within yourself. That's what matters. Being the observer also means becoming aware of your own thoughts. Most people have no idea how many of their thoughts are automatic, negative, or completely unhelpful. They live in a storm of internal dialogue that's never been questioned. But when you begin to watch your mind, you see the patterns. You notice the stories you tell yourself. You realize that half the things you believe about yourself or the world were never true. They were just repeated so often that you accepted them without thinking. And that's the beauty of observation. It gives you space to change. It gives you the distance you need to question what no longer serves you. You stop identifying with every thought. You stop assuming that every feeling is a fact. You begin to say, "This is just a thought. I don't have to follow it." And just like that, you break free from years of mental conditioning. You also stop being addicted to drama. When you're no longer reactive, you stop feeding off emotional highs and lows. You become steady. You become grounded. And while others are caught in cycles of conflict, attention-seeking, and emotional outbursts, you rise above it, not in arrogance, but in clarity. You've simply outgrown the need to respond to everything. People might misunderstand your silence. They might mistake your calmness for indifference. That's okay. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to grow. You're here to master your mind. And real growth doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's still. But it's always powerful. Eventually you'll start to notice a shift in how people respond to you. When you don't react, others start to respect your energy. They sense your strength. They feel your stability. And they begin to approach you differently. Not with chaos, but with calm. You create an environment of peace simply by being peace. That's the influence of the observer. You don't need to say much. Your presence says it all. You'll also find that your ability to make better decisions improves dramatically. When you're not reacting from emotion, you think more clearly. You see the bigger picture. You weigh options more carefully. You speak with more intention. That alone can change the direction of your life. The key is consistency. This isn't about being perfect. You will slip. You will react at times. That's human. But the more you return to the role of the observer, the more natural it becomes. You train your mind like a muscle. At first it's hard, but with practice, it becomes automatic. And that's when the real transformation happens. Not when you force peace, but when peace becomes your default. You stop being a victim of every emotional spike. You stop living at the mercy of your past habits. You step into a new way of being, one that's rooted in self-awareness, discipline, and choice. You no longer chase peace. You become it. You no longer search for strength. You are it. All because you made the simple decision to stop reacting and start observing. And in that decision, You reclaim something most people never find, the power to remain unmoved in a world that never stops moving. Chapter 3. Delete the need for validation. You spend your life waiting for someone to tell you that you're good enough. You post, hoping someone will like it. You speak, hoping someone will agree. You succeed, but it's not complete unless someone sees it. Deep down, you're seeking confirmation, not from yourself, but from the outside world. And that is where your peace begins to slip away. Because the moment your self-worth becomes tied to what others see, think, or say, you've given away your power. You've handed over your identity to people who don't know your full story and probably never will. Validation has become a currency in today's world. Every like, every compliment, every nod of approval feels like a small deposit into your confidence. But that kind of confidence doesn't last. It fades the moment the praise stops. The moment you're ignored, the moment someone criticizes you, or even worse, says nothing at all, you begin to shrink. You wonder if you're still enough, if you're still seen, if you're still valuable. And that question eats at you. Not because you're lacking anything, but because you've been trained to believe that your worth needs to be echoed back to you before it's real. You have to unlearn that. You have to let go of the habit of checking every decision, every move, every dream against someone else's opinion. The truth is, you'll never feel fully alive if you keep waiting for others to approve of your life. They don't have to understand your vision. They don't need to like your progress. They don't even need to see your work. What matters is that you know why you're doing it. That your actions come from a place of purpose, not from a craving for applause. Deleting the need for validation doesn't mean becoming arrogant or dismissive. It means anchoring yourself so deeply in who you are that you don't waver based on someone else's perception. It means waking up and knowing what you want, what you value, and what you're building, regardless of how the world responds. That kind of self-certainty can't be faked. It has to be built, layer by layer, by consistently choosing yourself even when others don't. You have to practice it. When you do something you're proud of, don't rush to share it just to be praised. Sit with it. Feel the internal reward. Remind yourself that it's real, even if no one claps for it. When someone compliments you, accept it with gratitude, but don't depend on it. And when someone ignores or criticizes you, don't crumble. See it as feedback, not a verdict. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be honest with yourself. Most people won't get it. That's the reality. Your path is yours for a reason. It won't make sense to everyone, and it's not supposed to. Some people will question you. Others will misunderstand you. A few might even resent you. That has nothing to do with you and everything to do with how your presence reflects back their own insecurities. You can't build a free life while carrying the weight of everyone else's approval. You have to put it down. You have to choose your peace over their permission. Every time you pause before acting, because you're thinking, "What will they think of me?" that's a trap. It keeps you small. It limits your expression. It steals your boldness. You were not born to live in a box made by other people's comfort zones. The world doesn't need more people who conform. It needs people who are real, who act from alignment, not applause, who are driven by values, not validation. Look closely at your own life. How many times have you silenced yourself just to keep the peace? How many dreams have you delayed because someone doubted them? How often have you watered down your ambition because you didn't want to seem too much? That pattern can end now, but only if you decide that your inner voice matters more than the noise around you. To delete the need for validation, you have to first recognize where it hides. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. It shows up in the way you wait for reassurance before taking action, in the way you scan a room for signs of approval, in the way you replay conversations, wondering if you said the right thing. It's those small, silent moments that reveal how dependent you've become on being seen a certain way. Start noticing those moments, not to judge yourself, but to reclaim your awareness. Next, start building your own inner validation system. Every time you follow through on something difficult, take a moment to acknowledge it. When you act with integrity, recognize that strength. When you speak your truth, even if your voice shakes, remind yourself that you're growing. These are the real wins, and they don't need to be shared with the world to be valid. Your confidence doesn't need a spotlight. It needs consistency. Keep showing up for yourself, especially when no one is watching. That's where real confidence is built. Remember, confidence isn't thinking you're better than everyone else. It's knowing you don't have to compare yourself to anyone. It's the quiet understanding that you are enough, as you are, and you're still allowed to improve. It's rooted in self-respect, not ego. And when you no longer need validation to feel good about yourself, you become unstoppable. You're not waiting to be chosen. You're choosing yourself every day, in every way. This mindset frees you. It frees you from needing to explain yourself. It frees you from chasing approval. It frees you from the prison of people-pleasing. You stop editing yourself just to be accepted. You stop overthinking your every move. You stop trying to make everyone comfortable at the cost of your own authenticity. And in that space where approval used to sit, something better grows: self-respect, inner peace, clarity, strength. You also become more focused. When you're not seeking validation, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You stop doing things just to be seen. You stop making choices based on popularity. You get clear on what truly matters to you. You set your own standards, your own goals, your own values. And you measure your life against that, not against likes, opinions, or trends. People might not understand this shift at first. Some will think you've changed, and you have. You've stopped living to be liked. That's a powerful shift. It's uncomfortable at first. You'll feel the silence when people stop praising you. You'll feel the discomfort of not being everyone's favorite. But in that silence, you'll find your real voice. And in that discomfort, you'll build real confidence. It won't happen overnight. The desire to be validated runs deep, especially if you've built a life around it. But every time you choose truth over approval, you make progress. Every time you trust your gut, instead of waiting for permission, you reclaim a little more of your power. And with enough of those small decisions, you wake up one day and realize you don't need anyone to tell you who you are anymore. You already know. That's when you become free. That's when nobody and nothing can affect you, because you've stopped outsourcing your identity. You've stopped handing your value to the world and asking them to return it to you with interest. You've made peace with yourself. And that's the strongest foundation you can stand on. Live from that place. Speak from that place. Build from that place. The world will catch up, or it won't. But either way, you'll be whole, and that's what truly matters. Chapter 4. Turn off the world every morning. The moment you wake up, the world begins to demand your attention. Notifications buzz, emails pile up, news headlines scream for your focus, and people, whether physically in your life or through social media, want your energy. It's as though the moment your eyes open, you're immediately thrust into the chaos of external voices, pulling you in every direction. But what if, for once, You could start your day with your own voice. What if you could set the tone for your morning, instead of being pulled into the whirlwind of everyone else's priorities? Imagine what your life would be like if you made a habit of turning off the world every morning before you begin your day. Turning off the world doesn't mean disconnecting from reality or becoming out of touch. It means choosing to center yourself before you allow the noise of the world to influence your mood, your thoughts, and your actions. It's a powerful practice that allows you to regain control over your life, to start your day grounded, calm, and with purpose. You need this daily. There is power in the first few minutes after waking up. You're still in a state of liminality, the threshold between sleep and wakefulness, when your mind is open, impressionable, and receptive to what you feed it. Most people waste this time by diving straight into external stimuli, giving away their peace before the day even begins. The world grabs hold of their attention, and the rest of the day is spent reacting instead of acting with intention. But when you take control of those first moments, you unlock the potential to shape your day in ways that go beyond mere survival. The first step is simple: wake up and make the choice to do nothing for a few minutes. Don't reach for your phone. Don't check your messages. Don't check the time. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and just sit in stillness. Let yourself reconnect with your body. Feel the breath entering your lungs, expanding your chest, the rise and fall of your belly. Your body has been through a lot while you've been asleep. Let it ease into the day without rushing into the demands of the outside world. You don't need to fill every second of this space with something to do. You don't need to immediately jump into productivity mode. Just be. Let yourself feel grateful that you're alive, that you have another chance to experience the day. So many people wake up with a rush of anxiety because they're already focused on what's coming next, what they have to do, what they don't want to face. But if you start your day in silence, you choose to begin from a place of inner peace. That peace becomes the foundation upon which everything else can be built. When you are calm internally, you can handle whatever the world throws at you. After you've spent a few minutes just breathing, you can begin to guide your thoughts with intention. One powerful way to do this is through a morning affirmation or intention. Speak to yourself in a way that sets the tone for your day. Speak your intentions clearly and firmly. Today is mine. I will face any challenges with calm and clarity. I am in control. These affirmations don't have to be complex. They just need to reinforce the truth that you are the one in control of your life, not the outside world. Another key aspect of turning off the world every morning is establishing boundaries with your devices. The habit of checking your phone as soon as you wake up is not just a mild distraction, it's a deep-rooted compulsion that takes your attention away from your own goals and places it in the hands of others. People, businesses, and platforms are all competing for your attention, and if you let them, they will take it. But if you choose to make your morning sacred, to make it about you and not your notifications, you gain a massive advantage. When you reach for your phone first thing, you are outsourcing your thoughts to other people's agendas. Emails, texts, and social media posts are filled with demands, questions, and other people's emotions. If you don't have the emotional resilience to process these external inputs, they will steal your peace and focus. That's why it's essential to have a period of time in the morning when you don't engage with the outside world. You can train yourself to wait an hour, even 30 minutes, before checking your phone. This is your time to align your mind, your body, and your spirit before stepping into the noise of the day. But this practice is not just about avoiding the phone, it's about reclaiming your energy. Every time you open your email inbox or check your social media, you are expending energy, even if you don't realize it. This is energy that could otherwise be used to fuel your own goals, ambitions, and personal growth. When you turn off the world every morning, you're saying no to the energy drains of others' demands, and yes to yourself. You reclaim your energy so that you can use it in ways that truly serve you. As you build this habit, you might face some resistance. At first, the urge to check your phone may feel almost overwhelming. You might feel the anxiety of missing out or fear that you're falling behind. But this is just a habit that needs to be rewired. You are training your brain to prioritize your peace over external inputs. The resistance you feel is a signal that you are breaking free from the conditioned patterns that have kept you tethered to the outside world. Keep going. Your peace is more valuable than any notification. Once you've created space for yourself in the morning, consider adding other practices to further solidify this new habit. Meditating for a few minutes can deepen the sense of calm you've cultivated, or perhaps you could take a walk, stretch, or write in a journal. Whatever activity you choose, let it be a practice that nourishes your mind and body, not something that drains or stresses you. This is a time for self-care and self-connection. When you turn off the world every morning, you become the master of your own energy. You stop living reactively, waiting for the world to dictate how you feel. Instead, you step into your day as an active creator, deciding how you want to engage with the world. This shift will transform the way you show up, not only for yourself, but for others. Your mornings are the foundation of your entire day. If you start your day in chaos, you are much more likely to carry that chaos with you. But if you start in stillness, in peace, in alignment, you set yourself up for success. The world can wait for a few moments, but the work you do in those moments will set the tone for everything that follows. As the day progresses, you'll notice that your ability to respond to the world rather than react to it improves. You won't be as affected by the unexpected challenges, the curveballs, or the emotional roller coasters of life. Instead of feeling like a leaf blowing in the wind, you'll feel rooted, steady, and intentional. And when challenges arise, you'll face them with clarity and composure, because you've already set the foundation for a powerful day. So tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, remember the first few minutes are yours. Don't rush to fill them with noise. Take control of your morning, and in doing so you take control of your life. Start your day by turning off the world and tuning into yourself. This simple yet powerful practice will give you the space you need to live with purpose, with clarity, and with intention every single day. Chapter 5. Train yourself to be emotionless under pressure. Life will push you. It will pull you in directions you never anticipated. It will throw challenges, obstacles, and demands that seem impossible to face. And in those moments, your ability to stay grounded, calm, and collected is one of the most important skills you can develop. To become someone who can face any pressure, whether personal, professional, or emotional, and remain unaffected, is not only a powerful trait, it is one that will shape the way you navigate the world. Training yourself to be emotionless under pressure does not mean suppressing or ignoring your emotions. It does not mean becoming robotic or detached from the world. What it does mean is learning to observe your emotions without becoming consumed by them. It's about taking control of your emotional responses so that you can remain clear-headed and focused, no matter what life throws at you. The first step to mastering this ability is to understand that you are not your emotions. Too often, people identify with their feelings, thinking that their emotions are a reflection of who they are. But emotions are temporary. They come and go like waves in the ocean. They are not permanent, and they certainly do not define you. When you understand this, you take away their power to control you. Emotions, especially in moments of pressure, are often driven by fear, anxiety, frustration, or anger. But these emotions are not facts. They are reactions to external circumstances. When you allow yourself to react without pausing, you give these emotions the power to dictate your actions. Instead, you need to build the habit of stepping back and choosing how to respond. You can feel the emotion without letting it control you. Start by practicing mindfulness in your daily life. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment without judgment. When you feel a strong emotion rising, whether it's anger from a heated conversation, anxiety about an upcoming deadline, or frustration in traffic, take a moment to pause. Close your eyes for a brief second, take a deep breath, and allow the emotion to exist without reacting to it. This is the first step in becoming emotionless under pressure, learning to pause before you react. The pause is a powerful tool. It allows you to disconnect from the immediate emotional response and gives you space to decide how to respond. In those moments, you can choose to be calm, to stay grounded, and to act with purpose rather than react out of impulse. This small habit, repeated consistently, can transform the way you handle stressful situations. But it's not just about reacting less, it's about developing emotional resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to remain steadfast in the face of adversity. The more you practice staying calm under pressure, the more resilient you become. Emotional resilience is built through repetition and deliberate practice. It's like training a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. A great way to strengthen this muscle is through visualization. When you anticipate pressure-filled situations in your life, visualize how you want to react. See yourself staying calm, composed, and in control, no matter what comes your way. When you visualize yourself handling stress with grace and confidence, you are programming your mind to behave that way when faced with real-life challenges. Another key to remaining emotionless under pressure is learning to detach from external outcomes. So often, we allow the fear of failure or disappointment to drive our emotional responses. But the truth is, you can't control the outcomes of every situation. You can only control how you approach them. When you detach yourself from the need for a specific result, you remove the emotional weight that comes with pressure. Instead, you can focus on the process, the actions, and the steps you can take to move forward. This shift in mindset allows you to remain steady, even when the outcome is uncertain. One of the most important aspects of emotional detachment is the ability to stay objective. When you are under pressure, it's easy to become swept up in the emotions of the moment. You might start to feel overwhelmed, stressed, or defeated. But in those moments, ask yourself, what is the objective truth of this situation? When you focus on the facts, rather than the emotions attached to them, you gain clarity. This clarity helps you make better decisions, free from the cloud of emotional turmoil. Additionally, building emotional strength comes from the ability to reframe your thinking. Rather than seeing pressure as something to be avoided, begin to view it as an opportunity to grow. Pressure is a powerful force. It can either break you, or it can shape you into someone stronger. The more you see pressure as an opportunity to build resilience, the easier it becomes to handle. With each challenge you face, you become more adept at handling the next one. It's important to remember that being emotionless under pressure doesn't mean avoiding or denying emotions. It means understanding and controlling them, rather than letting them control you. You will still feel stress, fear, frustration, and anger. These emotions are natural, human reactions, but the key is to feel them without letting them dictate your actions. When you allow yourself to acknowledge and accept your feelings without judgment, you can move through them with ease, instead of being trapped by them. Another technique to help manage pressure is to practice deep breathing. When you feel yourself becoming overwhelmed, your body naturally tenses up, and your breath becomes shallow. This physiological response fuels the emotional reaction, making it even harder to remain calm. By consciously slowing your breath and focusing on deep inhales and exhales, you activate your body's relaxation response, which helps to reduce stress and bring your mind back into focus. Breathing exercises are simple but incredibly effective. The next time you're in a high-pressure situation, take a few moments to close your eyes and breathe deeply. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and exhale for 4 counts. Repeat this for several breaths. You'll be amazed at how quickly your mind and body can calm down. But above all, remember that developing emotional control is a lifelong practice. It's not something that happens overnight. You will slip up, you will react emotionally from time to time, and that's okay. The goal isn't perfection, the goal is to make progress. Each time you train yourself to stay calm under pressure, you strengthen your emotional resilience. With time, it will become second nature. The pressure in life will never stop. It's a constant, but how you respond to it is entirely within your control. The more you practice detaching from your emotions in high-pressure moments, the more you'll find that the world's challenges no longer have the power to knock you off balance. You'll remain steady, focused and unshaken, no matter what life throws at you. So train yourself, be deliberate, build the muscle of emotional control, one moment at a time, and soon you'll realize that nothing, no pressure, no challenge has the power to throw you off course. You'll face each day with the calm and clarity of someone who knows that no matter what comes, you have the strength to remain grounded. Chapter 6. Disengage from drama without feeling guilty. Drama surrounds us. It's an inevitable part of life, whether it's at work, at home, or within our social circles. Sometimes it comes in the form of gossip, petty disagreements, or even ongoing conflict. And if we're being honest with ourselves, it can feel exhausting. It can drain your energy, pull you into situations that serve no real purpose, and leave you feeling emotionally overwhelmed. The challenge, however, is learning to disengage from it all without feeling guilty, as if you're abandoning responsibility or missing out on something important. The first step in disengaging from drama is recognizing that not all battles are worth fighting. In fact, most aren't. Drama is often driven by external chaos and internal insecurity, and people who thrive on it may seek validation, attention, or simply distraction. When you engage in this drama, you're playing into their game, and in the process, you sacrifice your peace, your energy, and your time. But here's the key: you do not owe anyone your emotional bandwidth. You do not owe anyone a front-row seat to their chaotic life. You are under no obligation to be pulled into conflict or negativity that doesn't serve your higher goals. The first rule of disengagement is simple but essential. It's okay to walk away. The discomfort you may feel when disengaging from drama, especially when you have been conditioned to stay involved, is often rooted in guilt. You may feel like you're being selfish or neglecting your responsibilities. But here's an important truth: disengaging from drama is not selfish. It is an act of self-preservation. Your energy, time, and emotional well-being are precious, and it's your responsibility to protect them. If you allow drama to consume you, you'll find yourself living a reactive life, constantly putting out fires instead of focusing on your personal growth, your goals, and what really matters. So, how do you disengage from drama without feeling guilty? It starts with understanding that you're not abandoning anyone. When you step away from the noise and chaos, you're actually creating space for healthier, more productive interactions. You are not turning your back on someone, but rather setting a boundary that protects your peace. When you remove yourself from toxic dynamics, you're also sending a subtle but powerful message. You won't tolerate negativity in your life. And that is something you can be proud of. Another key component in disengaging from drama is understanding that it's okay to say no. We live in a culture where people often feel compelled to say yes, to get involved, or to solve everyone's problems. Saying no, however, is an act of strength, not weakness. It's a way of honoring your priorities, your time, and your mental energy. You do not have to justify or explain your decision to anyone. Simply state your boundary and move forward. You do not need to give a detailed explanation or reason. Your time and energy are yours to protect. No is a complete sentence. To help with this process, it's also important to assess the root cause of the drama. Often drama arises from insecurity, misunderstanding, or a lack of communication. When you step away, it's not because you don't care, it's because you know that your involvement won't resolve the underlying issues. Instead of getting lost in the drama, choose to be a source of calm and clarity. You can offer support in a more constructive, less emotionally charged way, or in some cases, you can simply choose to listen rather than engage. Sometimes, the most helpful thing you can do is to let others work through their issues without your involvement. This ability to disengage from drama without guilt also requires a shift in mindset. It's about recognizing that you are not responsible for the emotional state of others. Too often, we take on the burden of other people's emotions, thinking that it's our job to fix things for them. But it's important to remember, you are not their emotional caretaker. Everyone is responsible for their own feelings and actions. By stepping away from drama, you're not abandoning them, you're giving them the space to deal with their emotions and resolve their issues on their own. It's a form of tough love, even if it feels uncomfortable at times. A helpful technique to keep in mind is the art of distraction. This doesn't mean avoiding reality or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Instead, it means choosing to redirect your focus away from the drama and towards something that enriches your life. Instead of getting involved in a heated argument, choose to immerse yourself in an activity that brings you joy or helps you grow, whether that's working on a passion project, exercising, reading, or spending time with loved ones who uplift you. The more you engage in positive, life-affirming activities, the less room there will be for drama to take hold. Additionally, disengaging from drama requires a strong sense of self-worth. If you don't believe that your peace and time are valuable, you'll find it difficult to step away when necessary. But when you recognize that your mental and emotional well-being are worth protecting, you begin to make decisions that reflect that value. You can ask yourself, is this drama worth my energy? Does it align with my values and goals? When the answer is no, it's easier to disengage with confidence and without guilt. One of the most powerful tools in disengaging from drama is the practice of empathy. Empathy allows you to understand what others are going through, but it doesn't mean you have to get involved in their struggles. You can offer compassion without absorbing their negativity. Being empathetic doesn't mean becoming enmeshed in someone else's emotional turmoil. Instead, it means acknowledging their pain while maintaining the boundary that protects your emotional health. This balance allows you to be supportive while still maintaining your own peace. Ultimately, disengaging from drama isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about being intentional with where you direct your attention and energy. It's about recognizing that you have the power to choose which situations deserve your involvement and which ones don't. You are not obligated to become emotionally entangled in every situation that arises. By setting clear boundaries, practicing empathy, and learning to say no, you can create a life where drama no longer dictates your emotional state. As you practice disengaging from drama, it will become easier. The more you prioritize your peace and well-being, the less you will feel guilty for stepping away. And over time, you'll find that your life becomes lighter, your relationships healthier, and your emotional state more stable. The key is remembering that you are not responsible for fixing everyone's problems. Your job is to live in alignment with your values, protect your peace, and continue growing toward the person you are meant to be. Chapter 7. Build the fortress around your mind. The mind is the most powerful tool you possess. It shapes your perceptions, governs your thoughts, and drives your actions. But in today's world, the mind is constantly under attack. It faces distractions, negativity, doubt, and the chaos of external influences. To protect your mental well-being and harness the full potential of your mind, you must build a fortress around it. Building a fortress around your mind isn't a simple task. It requires intentional effort and discipline. It's about creating a mental space that is secure, resilient, and free from unnecessary influence. It's about recognizing that not everything that enters your mind is worth entertaining, and that the thoughts you allow to settle in your consciousness directly impact the quality of your life. When you learn to guard your thoughts, you protect your sense of peace, your self-worth, and your ability to think clearly. The first step in building this fortress is understanding that your mind is a garden. What you plant and nourish in it determines the kind of mental environment you cultivate. If you let negativity and self-doubt take root, your mind will become a toxic space filled with weeds. But if you fill it with positive, empowering thoughts, your mind will flourish. Like a garden, your mind requires attention, care, and regular maintenance. If you neglect it, it becomes cluttered and overrun by negative influences. But when you tend to it regularly, you create a fertile ground for growth and success. This fortress starts with the realization that not everything around you is meant to be internalized. Every day, you are bombarded with information, opinions, and emotional stimuli. From the media to social media, from conversations with friends to the noise of the world, there's a constant stream of messages trying to influence your mind. But you are not obligated to let all of this information seep into your mental space. In fact, you must be selective about what you allow in. This requires awareness. It's about being mindful of what you expose yourself to and recognizing that not all external input is worth absorbing. One way to build this mental fortress is by setting boundaries with the information you consume. You must ask yourself, does this serve my goals? Does this help me grow? Or does it pull me away from my purpose? Is this a thought or idea I want to entertain? When you start asking these questions, you'll realize that a lot of what you've been allowing into your mind is unnecessary noise. Letting go of negative or irrelevant inputs is one of the most powerful ways to strengthen your mental fortress. The next step is to cultivate positive, empowering beliefs. Your beliefs form the foundation of your mental fortress. They determine how you view yourself and the world around you. If your beliefs are weak or negative, your mental fortress will be easily compromised. But when you build strong, positive beliefs, you create a solid foundation that protects your mind from external pressure. Building empowering beliefs requires a shift in perspective. Instead of focusing on what you don't have or what you fear, focus on what you can do and what you've already achieved. Recognize your strengths and abilities and use them as the pillars that support your fortress. You must affirm your worth regularly. You must speak life into yourself. Replace thoughts of inadequacy with thoughts of abundance and potential. This shift in mindset is not an overnight transformation. It's a consistent practice of reinforcing positive beliefs until they become your default mode of thinking. Another critical element of your mental fortress is emotional regulation. Emotions are powerful, and they can either strengthen or weaken your mental fortress. When you allow your emotions to control you, they can erode your sense of stability and peace. Building emotional resilience is about learning to respond to emotions rather than react to them. It's about understanding that emotions are temporary and you don't have to act on every feeling that arises. Emotional regulation requires practice. It's about taking a step back when you feel overwhelmed or triggered and allowing yourself to process your emotions in a healthy way. Instead of letting anger or frustration dictate your actions, you learn to pause, reflect, and choose a more rational, composed response. This practice helps to reinforce the walls of your mental fortress, preventing emotions from gaining too much control over your thoughts and actions. Discipline is another essential component of building a fortress around your mind. A strong mind doesn't come from luck or chance. It comes from consistent effort and practice. You must develop the discipline to protect your mental space and guard against distractions, negativity, and self-doubt. This means creating routines that support your mental well-being, such as meditation, exercise, journaling, or reading. It means making time for activities that help you grow and stay focused on your goals. The more disciplined you become in protecting your mind, the more resilient you'll become in the face of external challenges. Discipline allows you to stay on track and avoid being swayed by fleeting emotions or external pressure. It gives you the strength to say no to things that don't serve you and yes to the things that help you move forward. Your mental fortress is built on the foundation of daily habits and choices that align with your long-term vision. Equally important is the need to detach from negative or toxic influences. You cannot build a strong mental fortress while surrounding yourself with negativity. Whether it's negative people, toxic environments, or harmful habits, these influences will chip away at the walls of your fortress. You must learn to identify and distance yourself from these influences. This doesn't mean you have to cut ties with everyone who isn't perfect, but it does mean that you must prioritize your well-being and protect your mental space. Surround yourself with people who support your growth and encourage your success. Seek out relationships that are uplifting and nurturing, and spend less time with those who drain your energy or pull you into unnecessary drama. When you build a support system that aligns with your values and goals, you reinforce the strength of your mental fortress. Alongside external influences, you must also guard your mind against internal threats, those self-limiting thoughts, doubts, and fears that arise within you. These internal obstacles are just as dangerous as external distractions, and if left unchecked, they can undermine your confidence and hinder your progress. Recognizing these thoughts and reframing them is an important skill in protecting your mind. When you catch yourself thinking negatively or doubting your abilities, counter those thoughts with positive affirmations and rational reasoning. Over time, you'll train your mind to reject self-doubt and focus on your strengths and potential. Remember that building a mental fortress is a continuous process. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes time, patience, and commitment. But as you continue to strengthen your mind, you'll find that you become more resilient, more focused, and more empowered. Your mental fortress will become an unshakable foundation that supports your growth, your success, and your peace of mind. Chapter 8. Turn pain into power on command. Pain is one of the most universal experiences we face as human beings. It can manifest in countless ways: physical, emotional, psychological, But regardless of its form, one thing remains true: pain is inevitable. The real question is not how to avoid pain, but how to transform it into power. How do we take something that has the potential to weaken us and turn it into a force that drives us forward, fuels our growth, and propels us to the next level? Pain, when left unchecked, has the power to break us down, to keep us in a constant state of suffering. It can lead to feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, and self-pity. It can stop us in our tracks, leaving us paralyzed by fear, doubt, and negative emotion. But what if we could change that? What if we could shift our perspective on pain and use it as a catalyst for personal transformation? The first step in turning pain into power is understanding that pain is a natural part of life. It is not something to be feared or avoided, but something to be embraced. Pain is a signal, a sign that something is happening within us or around us that requires our attention. It is not an enemy, but a teacher. When we begin to see pain through this lens, we free ourselves from the victim mentality that often accompanies suffering. We no longer see ourselves as powerless or at the mercy of external circumstances. Instead, we begin to recognize that we have the power to choose how we respond to pain. This power lies in our ability to control our reactions. When pain strikes, our natural instinct is often to recoil, to resist, to fight it off. But resistance only prolongs suffering. The more we resist, the more entrenched the pain becomes in our minds and bodies. Instead of fighting pain, we must learn to accept it. Acceptance is not the same as surrender. It does not mean we simply give in to the pain or let it define us. Rather, it means we acknowledge the pain without judgment, without letting it dictate how we move forward. By accepting pain, we take away its power over us. Once we accept pain, we can begin to channel it. Every painful experience holds within it the potential for growth. Whether it's a physical injury, a breakup, a failure, or the loss of a loved one, pain can teach us valuable lessons about resilience, strength, and perseverance. Instead of focusing on the pain itself, shift your focus to the lesson it offers. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? How can this experience help me become a stronger, wiser, and more capable person? For example, let's say you experience a setback in your career. You might feel disappointed, frustrated, or even angry. But instead of dwelling on those negative emotions, ask yourself what you can learn from the situation. Perhaps this setback is an opportunity to refine your skills, to develop a new perspective, or to build the mental toughness required to overcome future challenges. When you reframe pain as a lesson, it transforms from something that holds you back into something that pushes you forward. Another powerful way to turn pain into power is through the practice of gratitude. It might seem counterintuitive to be grateful for pain, but when you cultivate an attitude of gratitude, you shift your energy from negativity to positivity. Gratitude helps you focus on what you have, even when you're experiencing pain. It reminds you of the strengths you possess, the support you have, and the opportunities for growth that pain provides. Gratitude helps you find meaning in suffering, turning it from something random and cruel into something purposeful and transformative. In addition to gratitude, the practice of visualization can also be a powerful tool in turning pain into power. Visualization involves mentally rehearsing the outcomes you desire, even in the face of adversity. When you experience pain, whether physical or emotional, visualize yourself overcoming it. Picture yourself growing stronger, more resilient, and more capable as a result of your struggle. Visualization helps you stay focused on the future, on the potential that lies beyond the pain. It reminds you that pain is not the end of the story, but rather a chapter in your journey. One of the most important aspects of turning pain into power is learning to reframe your beliefs about yourself. Pain can often trigger feelings of inadequacy or self-doubt. We may begin to question our worth or our ability to cope with challenges. But these negative beliefs only reinforce the pain, making it harder to break free from its grip. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, choose to see yourself as a powerful individual capable of overcoming any obstacle. To do this, start by cultivating a mindset of self-compassion. Be kind to yourself during times of pain, and remind yourself that suffering is a part of the human experience. Allow yourself to feel your emotions without judgment, but also remind yourself that you are not defined by your pain. You are defined by how you respond to it. By practicing self-compassion, you reinforce the belief that you are strong enough to handle whatever comes your way. Another key to turning pain into power is the ability to take action. Often, when we are in pain, we become paralyzed. We retreat into ourselves, hoping the pain will somehow go away on its own. But action is one of the most powerful ways to regain control over your situation. Even if the action you take is small, it helps you break free from the grip of pain and shift your focus from what's wrong to what you can do. Taking action reminds you that you are not helpless. You have the power to make choices and to shape your own reality, regardless of the circumstances. When you act in spite of pain, you build mental toughness. You prove to yourself that you can endure hardship and come out stronger on the other side. This strengthens your resilience and prepares you for future challenges. Every time you face pain and choose to take action, you reinforce the belief that you can turn any situation to your advantage. Finally, turning pain into power requires patience. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. The process of turning pain into strength is ongoing and requires consistent effort. It's about learning to trust the process even when it feels difficult. It's about staying committed to your growth even in the face of adversity. When you are patient with yourself and with the process, you allow the pain to gradually transform into power. Pain will always be a part of life, but how you respond to it is what truly matters. You have the power to turn pain into power on command. By accepting it, reframing it, practicing gratitude, visualizing your success, cultivating self-compassion, taking action, and being patient with yourself, you can transform any painful experience into a stepping stone on your journey to greatness. The next time pain comes knocking at your door, remember that it is not there to break you. It is there to shape you, to challenge you, and to make you stronger than you ever thought possible. Embrace it and let it fuel your rise to greatness. Chapter 9. Install your non-reaction mode. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, learning how to remain calm in the face of provocation or stress is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Your ability to maintain composure and respond with clarity rather than reacting impulsively or emotionally can make all the difference in how you experience life. It can transform the way you handle difficult situations, improve your decision-making, and allow you to control your responses in a way that strengthens your mental resilience. Installing your non-reaction mode means mastering the art of not being governed by your impulses. It means learning to pause before acting, creating space between stimulus and response. Instead of immediately reacting to what is happening around you, you gain the ability to choose how you respond, whether with patience, understanding, or strategic action. This skill is especially crucial when dealing with challenging individuals, stressful circumstances, or any kind of emotional or psychological triggers. When you master non-reaction, you take the power back from the world around you and place it firmly within yourself. The first step to activating your non-reaction mode is understanding the concept of emotional triggers. Everyone has them, situations or behaviors that immediately stir up strong emotional responses, whether it's anger, frustration, fear, or sadness. The key to installing your non-reaction mode is recognizing these triggers before they take control. Instead of being caught off guard, you develop an awareness of the situations that tend to provoke you, allowing you to prepare mentally and emotionally for them. This awareness is the foundation upon which your non-reaction mode is built. Once you recognize your emotional triggers, the next step is to create a mental pause. This pause is crucial in breaking the cycle of automatic reactions. It's the space between what happens and how you respond. In moments of stress or provocation, we tend to act on autopilot, allowing our emotions to dictate our responses. This is where chaos begins. The power lies in the pause, the moment where you can step back, take a deep breath, and choose your response thoughtfully, rather than reacting instinctively. In this pause, you regain control over the situation and your emotional state. Practicing mindfulness is a powerful tool in strengthening this pause. Mindfulness allows you to stay present in the moment, fully aware of your thoughts, feelings, and sensations, without becoming overwhelmed by them. When you practice mindfulness, you cultivate the ability to observe your emotions without identifying with them. Instead of becoming consumed by anger or frustration, you learn to notice those emotions without attaching meaning to them. You recognize them as temporary feelings that do not need to dictate your actions. Through mindfulness, you realize that emotions are not commands but signals that provide information about your internal state. They do not require an immediate reaction, but offer an opportunity for reflection. One of the most effective ways to install your non-reaction mode is to practice delayed response. This involves intentionally giving yourself time to process a situation before responding. For example, when someone says something that triggers you, instead of immediately firing back with a defensive or reactive comment, you take a few seconds to breathe, gather your thoughts, and consider your response. This simple shift in behavior can prevent unnecessary conflict and allow you to approach the situation with a clearer, more measured perspective. By training yourself to delay your reactions, you stop yourself from becoming a slave to your emotional impulses. A key aspect of non-reaction is learning to detach your sense of self from external events. Many times we react emotionally because we feel personally attacked or threatened by something that happens. However, when you develop emotional detachment, you can view situations from a more objective standpoint. You recognize that what others say or do does not define who you are. You are not responsible for how others behave, nor should their actions dictate your emotional state. This shift in perspective allows you to remain centered and grounded, regardless of what is happening around you. This detachment is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about preserving your peace of mind and not allowing external circumstances to control your emotional state. It's about understanding that you cannot change other people, but you can always choose how you respond to them. When you detach emotionally from situations, you gain the ability to respond from a place of wisdom, rather than from a place of fear, anger, or insecurity. Another powerful tool in mastering non-reaction is the practice of self-regulation. This involves learning to control your internal state, even in the face of external chaos. When you practice self-regulation, you become less affected by external events and more in control of how you feel and react. It's about taking responsibility for your emotional well-being and not allowing others or circumstances to dictate how you feel. Self-regulation is about choosing calm over chaos, peace over conflict, and clarity over confusion. Self-regulation can be cultivated through various practices, such as deep breathing, meditation, or visualization. When you encounter a situation that might normally provoke a strong reaction, you can use these tools to calm your nervous system and refocus your mind. Deep breathing, for example, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps to reduce stress and promote relaxation. Meditation helps you stay grounded and present, allowing you to observe your thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. Visualization allows you to imagine yourself handling difficult situations with grace and composure, reinforcing the belief that you can remain calm under pressure. As you practice these techniques, you begin to rewire your brain to respond to challenges with non-reaction. Over time, your emotional responses will become less automatic and more deliberate. You will be able to stay calm in the face of provocation, think clearly under pressure, and make decisions from a place of clarity and inner strength. One of the most powerful aspects of non-reaction is its ability to preserve your energy. Reacting impulsively to every little thing around you drains your energy, leaving you feeling depleted, stressed, and overwhelmed. But when you activate your non-reaction mode, you conserve your energy. Instead of wasting time and mental resources on things that don't serve you, you redirect your focus and energy towards what truly matters. You become more productive, more effective, and more at peace because you are no longer caught up in the emotional turbulence that comes with reacting to everything. To truly install your non-reaction mode, you must practice it consistently, especially in challenging situations. Every time you choose not to react, you strengthen your ability to stay calm and centered in the face of adversity. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending to be indifferent. It's about recognizing that you have the power to choose your response, regardless of the circumstances. The more you practice non-reaction, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, you will find yourself responding with ease and confidence, no matter what life throws your way. When you install your non-reaction mode, you stop giving away your power to external events. You become the master of your emotions, not a slave to them. You gain the ability to remain calm, clear, and focused, no matter how chaotic the world around you becomes. This strength, this inner peace, is what will carry you through the challenges of life and allow you to thrive in any environment. Chapter 10. Break the addiction to being liked. To break the addiction to being liked, it's essential to first recognize the deep-seated need for external validation that exists in many of us. For most of our lives, we are taught that approval from others is a sign of success. From childhood, we're conditioned to seek praise, acceptance, and approval from parents, teachers, friends, and society. Over time, this conditioning leads us to rely on the opinions of others to feel good about ourselves. However, this dependency becomes an unhealthy habit, an addiction, one that can undermine our sense of self-worth and limit our potential. The first step in overcoming this addiction is understanding the reasons behind it. The need to be liked often stems from a fear of rejection. As human beings, we are wired for connection. We crave acceptance because it ensures our survival, especially when we are young. But as we grow older, this desire for approval should no longer be a driving force in our lives. Instead of measuring our value based on what others think of us, we must learn to value ourselves independently. This doesn't mean being indifferent to the feelings of others. It simply means freeing ourselves from the shackles of external validation and focusing on our own sense of purpose, identity, and self-worth. The addiction to being liked thrives on the constant comparison to others. When we base our value on how we stack up against the opinions and behaviors of those around us, we give up control of our emotional state. This constant cycle of seeking approval and fearing rejection only leaves us feeling empty. We become trapped in the need to conform, to please, and to fit in, never fully expressing who we truly are. The truth is, trying to please everyone is an impossible task. The more we bend and shape ourselves to meet the expectations of others, the more we lose sight of our authentic selves. This results in a life that feels inauthentic and disconnected from our true purpose. Breaking this addiction requires a shift in mindset. It starts with acknowledging that we do not need the approval of others to feel good about ourselves. We must begin to define our own worth, independent of what others think. This shift comes from developing self-awareness and understanding that our value does not come from external sources, but from within. The power of self-worth lies in the realization that we are inherently valuable, regardless of whether or not anyone else recognizes it. One of the most liberating actions you can take in breaking the addiction to being liked is learning to say no. Saying no to others is not about being rude or disrespectful. It's about setting boundaries that protect your time, energy, and mental well-being. When you learn to say no to things that don't align with your values or priorities, you stop living for others and start living for yourself. Saying no is an act of self-respect. It's a declaration that you are in charge of your own life and decisions. It's about valuing your own needs and desires, without feeling guilty for not meeting the expectations of others. The addiction to being liked often leads us to overextend ourselves, trying to meet every request, attend every social gathering, and make everyone happy. However, this constant people-pleasing behavior is unsustainable. It drains our energy, exhausts our resources, and leaves us feeling unfulfilled. By breaking free from the need to please others, we can redirect our energy toward more meaningful endeavors, ones that align with our values, passions, and goals. Learning to prioritize our own well-being and happiness is essential in reclaiming our time and energy from the demands of others. Another crucial aspect of breaking this addiction is developing resilience to criticism. When we are addicted to being liked, we often take criticism personally, seeing it as a reflection of our worth. However, criticism is an inevitable part of life. No matter how hard we try, there will always be people who disagree with us, criticize our actions, or find fault with our decisions. The key is to not internalize their opinions as truths about who we are. Instead, we must learn to view criticism objectively, using it as an opportunity for growth rather than as a personal attack. This shift in perspective is not easy, but it is necessary for breaking the cycle of seeking validation from others. When we stop internalizing the opinions of others, we free ourselves from the emotional weight that comes with trying to please everyone. We become more resilient in the face of negativity, more confident in our decisions, and more focused on our own growth and development. Furthermore, breaking the addiction to being liked requires us to embrace discomfort. It's natural to want to be accepted and appreciated, but growth often happens outside of our comfort zones. The fear of rejection and the desire to be liked can hold us back from taking risks and stepping into new opportunities. Whether it's starting a new business, expressing an unpopular opinion, or pursuing a passion that others don't understand, the fear of being judged can paralyze us. To break free from this fear, we must be willing to embrace discomfort and face the possibility of rejection head-on. It's important to recognize that not everyone will like us, and that's okay. We don't need everyone's approval to feel good about ourselves. When we stop seeking external validation, we allow ourselves to pursue what truly matters to us, without worrying about how others perceive us. This liberation from the need to be liked opens up new possibilities, both personally and professionally. We become more authentic, more confident, and more capable of making decisions that align with our values, regardless of the opinions of others. The process of breaking the addiction to being liked is ongoing. It requires consistent effort, self-reflection, and a willingness to confront our deepest fears and insecurities. But as we grow more comfortable with who we are, and as we learn to prioritize our own happiness over the approval of others, we begin to experience true freedom. We no longer feel the need to seek validation from external sources because we have already validated ourselves. We stand firm in our own worth, no longer swayed by the opinions of others. And in doing so, we unlock our full potential, embracing the fullness of who we are, unapologetically and confidently.